What's up, everyone? This is Pooka, and welcome to another game I played on the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. It is Friday. The weekend is near. Some of you may have national championships coming up. If so, good luck to you. But this game will be showing off the Gothitelle Accelgor deck. And this is going to be a long one, so I'm warning you in advance. But I believe this game shows off a lot about this deck. About how fragile it can be, and also about how resilient it can be at the same time, and how extremely strong it is once it completely sets up. So this is going to be a roller coaster ride of a game, and we'll see what happens. We're going up against Zeo285. Looks like we see a Dino, so that'll be a Darkrai Hydreigon deck, which is a deck that does not see a whole lot of play anymore, but it is still a pretty solid deck. You know, it's never really been a bad deck. It got a little less powerful, now that Landorus EX, Hypnotoxic Laser, the Plasma decks to an extent all came out. It's a lot easier to knock out Hydreigon in one hit. Excuse me. So, yeah, it's not as strong as it used to be. This was a dominant deck during the first set of Battle Roads and then those first regionals, but after that it really lost a lot of its luster. But again, it's still a strong deck, and you can see there's the rare candy into Hydreigon. That Dark Trance ability allows you to move dark energy around, and then you can use Max Potion to fully heal off Pokemon. And of course, you have Darkrai at your disposal, and then whatever techs you want to throw in as well. Now, my start here was not too great. I did get a Gothita and two Shelmets down early on, so the early setup is very important for this deck. You need to get, ideally, you want two Gothitas down, and then you want to rare candy into Gothitelle, and then you just want to put down a Shelmet, then evolve into Accelgor, behind your Magic Room, Trainer Lock, and then you kind of just go ahead and get everything set up behind Gothitelle, and go from there. Now my hand was not too great, so I had to put down Gothita and two Shelmet, and yeah, I don't know. My opponent is that Hydreigon, so I was afraid of getting Night Speared this turn. Fortunately, I did not. He does not have an energy attachment for the turn, just a Dowsing Machine and then a Dark Patch. So that was good for me. And then we're going to see a Junk Hunt here from Sableye. And now we're going to have to see what I want to do. Now this hand is okay. It doesn't quite provide me everything I would like. It's going to... I have a choice, basically. And these choices can make or break really your whole game with this deck. Now I have a Skyla that can get me a Pokemon Communication, which I can shuffle in my Mew, and then I can grab either a Gothitelle, and then rare candy into Gothitelle, and then I won't be able to attack this turn. I'll have to put it in the active spot. I'll probably retreat the Mew, either discarding the DC or using a Float Stone. Or I can Skyla and get Accelgor, and then use Mew to deck and cover that Sableye and just kind of hope for the best. Now the problem with that is my opponent is then free to play items, which means if he plays Switch, Full Heal, whatever, anything like that, Scramble, Switch, I don't know why you'd play that in a Hydreigon deck, but actually we saw Dowsing Machine. But yeah, any of those cards I can get out of status, and then you would just Night Spear me, and I'd probably lose. So I'm going to say Accelgor is a very risky move here, and I'm going to get Gothitelle instead. And then I'm just going to rare candy into Gothitelle. Now, the item lock doesn't even matter that much right now, because my opponent has already set up a Hydreigon. There's two energy in play. Just needs one more attachment, and then it can just retreat, and then move the energy to Darkrai and Night Spear. But the key here is I'm trying to save my Shelmets, so that at least one of them can evolve. So I'm going to set up Gothitelle and pass. I'm going to put both the DC and the Float Stone onto Mew, just because at some point I'll be able to deck and cover and then put the Float Stone back into my deck, so it's not like it's gone forever. And I don't want to discard double colorless energy, because those are they're really the lifeblood of this deck. If you don't have double colorless, you cannot use deck and cover, and you need to continually draw into them. So you don't want to discard them if you don't have to. Alright, so we do see that Night Spear from that Darkrai, and now you can see we're in a pretty fragile position here. But I did draw pretty well off of that N, I have to say. I got the Float Stone and the Accelgor, But you can see here it's already starting to get scary. I do not have another Gothita in play. I'm going to use Deck and Cover here, which will do 30 thanks to the resistance, and then Poison and Paralyze my opponent. And again, with Gothitelle's Magic Room up there, cannot play any items. There are a couple things I'm worried about here. Obviously the items are gone, but a Keldeo EX with Russian could get rid of that status, and then I would pretty much be done for. You would just rush in, retreat, go back to Darkrai, Night Spear, and that would pretty much be it. There's just nothing else to it. So I have to worry about Keldeo for the duration of this game. Thankfully here, I did draw another double colorless, but unfortunately I'm going to have to deck and cover with Accelgor, not Mew. So here we go. We're going to have to deck and cover with Accelgor. Not the greatest position in the world. Next turn I'm going to need to get another Accelgor in play, and then ideally I would like to get a Mew in play. But that's a lot of stuff to need to draw here. And you can see constantly we're needing to draw cards, draw cards, draw cards. In this early game, it's all about surviving long enough to get your deck small enough so that you can deck and cover every turn and not have to worry about it. So you can see I'm just always struggling, always on the back foot here. It's always, I'm like one or two cards away from this game completely just breaking down and me getting destroyed. So we're going to play Ultra Ball here, and I'm probably just going to grab Accelgor. I could grab Musharna, but I take a look through my deck, and I see there's only one Accelgor there. So that means one is prized, and that means I really need to get Accelgor into play this turn. I need to use deck and cover. Otherwise, I'm going to be in some trouble, I think. So I go for the Accelgor, and we're probably just going to Juniper this hand away. Hope for a double colorless, and uh-oh. This is very bad. I don't know how else to put this. This is horrendous. Like, I almost threw up a little when I saw this hand. There's no double colorless. I have two Gothitelle, a Dusknoir, and then a Juniper. So next turn I'm just going to have to discard all these evolutions. This hand just gives me absolutely no options. I have nothing, and just one turn like this can completely break your lock. And here we go. We have to go for a Muna's long distance hypnosis. I flip heads, so Darkrai's asleep. I just have to cross my fingers and hope that it stays asleep. And wow, okay, it does. Alright, well, that is pretty lucky, but hey, sometimes that works. My opponent gives me a little smiley face. Yeah, that's real lucky. But, you know, playing Muna does give you options to get out of those kind of situations. You know, sometimes that does happen. So I gotta say, that was really lucky, but you have to pay attention to all these little variables throughout the game. You have to realize that, hey, I do have Muna. I could always do that, and maybe give myself a little hope. And sometimes little hope is all you need. And there we go. So my opponent now still has not drawn Keldeo EX, which at any point here, this would completely just break the lock, and I would probably just die and lose the game. But, no, nothing so far. And once again, my hand is garbage. At least I have a double colorless, and I can use deck and cover with Accelgor and get a knockout on that Darkrai. And then I'm going to hope I get something off of my prizes. So I'm just kind of taking a look around at what's on this field. I'm trying to decide, do I want to deck and cover? And I really don't like taking these prizes here. I really don't like putting myself at a risk for an end to 4, especially when I have so many cards left in my deck. Especially when that Gothitelle is going to go down. And then I'm going to get hit by another Night Spear. I don't even have a Float Stone. I don't have an Accelgor anymore. I don't really have anything. But I got to go for it. I got to take prizes to try to get more resources into my hand because I have nothing to work with. I mean, if I just sit around, I'm going to get Night Spear and I'm just going to lose over and over. Well, I can only lose once, but I'm going to get Night Speared over and over, and then eventually I'm just going to lose if I don't attack. Alright, so I have to do something. I have to be proactive about this. Normally, the strategy with this deck is to just sit back, deck and cover, get Dusknoir out, use that Sinister Hand, and you don't take prizes until You really have to. All right, that is the goal. But it doesn't always work out that way. All right, so here I have to decide who do I want to promote. If I promote Shelmet and I don't draw an Accelgor, I'm in trouble. If I promote Gothitelle and I don't draw a Floatstone, I can't use deck and cover. But I am very fortunate here. I top decked a Juniper, so I can Ultra Ball. I think I'm going to get Accelgor again. Again, there's only one in my deck. I was hoping to get it off the prize. That was part of the reason why I took those two prizes. I knew there was an Accelgor in my prizes. And then maybe I could just get Accelgor again and keep this train going. I go for the long distance hypnosis. Might as well do it because I'm about to evolve anyway. Even if I get tails, I can just evolve and retreat. And okay, things are looking much, much better now. I put down the Battle City, which is a ghetto beach. That's about the best way I can put it. And I flipped head, so I did draw an extra card. And I got a Mew and a double colorless, so we can deck and cover. And I do have two double colorless in my hand. I can promote Gothitelle. Magic Room is back in effect. Alright, we basically didn't miss a beat. Alright, we lost to Gothitelle, but that's okay. You're expecting to lose a couple Gothitelles throughout the game. Once you get the lock, I mean, if you just assume your Gothitelle's never going to get knocked out, that's not good. That is poor game planning, I think, because a lot of decks just have ways to get out of one time for paralysis. For example, they play one Keldeo EX or one Audino. We've seen Audino be used sometimes now, but rarely do they have like two ways to get out of it. Like, not too many people play two Keldeo EX. It does happen. In fact, I do it in my Darkrai deck, but it really doesn't happen too much. All right, so you have to plan for at least one or two Gothitelles to go down. Otherwise, you're not building your deck properly, or you're really not planning out the game properly. Now, I don't have another Gothita down. I just haven't had a choice here. I've been kind of just relying on my top decks the entire game. You know, we've been barely skating by. Somehow we're winning this game, but you can see, even though I'm technically winning the game right now, I'm really not. Okay, if I just miss at any point, I'm going to lose. It's just all there is to it. So here, I have to play a dowsing machine, and I have to decide what I want to get rid of. I want to use deck and cover this turn, and hopefully draw something off that end to 4. So I'm going to Dowsing Machine for, I guess, a Floatstone. I could have taken Juniper here, and then I would have had to discard a double colorless. I think grabbing the Juniper here would have been better, even though I'm discarding a DC. It's gonna give me more cards. But I decided to go for the N to 4, and here, this is a bad spot. I have a deck and cover with Accelgor, which I am gonna do, just because it'll buy me an extra turn to get another Gothitelle into play. But you can see next turn, I don't have any way to use deck and cover. Right, I don't have another Shelmet down. I didn't draw Shelmet. I didn't get anything good there. So we are in major trouble, and the lock is pretty much going to be broken next turn. And that means that Darkrai is going to escape. Even though it's got all that damage on it, it's going to be able to retreat, and that's not good. And then I'm sure Hydreigon can just Dragon Blast my Gothitelle for a knockout. And then, well, I lose another Gothitelle. And it's all downhill from there. Unless I can get another Gothitelle. I also discarded a rare candy with that with that dowsing machine. So I think I'm down to maybe 2 rare candy left. I have 1 in my hand, which is good. But it's going to be tough to keep this going. And you can see just how much this deck takes to really get going. Now, I top deck a Gothitelle, that helps. I do only have Battle City in PTCGO. I am eagerly awaiting Tropical Beach. I go for the long distance hypnosis, and again, Muna pulls through. That was my only hope for keeping up this lock here. I used long distance hypnosis. We're going to forewarn, and oh boy. Still no Shelmet. Ugh. This is bad. I mean, what do I do from here? I don't have a Shelmet in play. I cannot get an Accelgor out. That was an abysmal turn. Wow, you stayed asleep again. So Muna again comes through in the clutch. Who needs Accelgor? You can just put him to sleep all day. What's the big deal? No, I've been really lucky there. So even when things don't go perfectly well, this deck does have a few outs here and there to, not just completely get blown out of the game. It's got some ways to buy time, all right, and that's kind of a good factor for this deck. Even when things look hopeless, um, you can maybe find some ways out. This is the deck that has probably the biggest comeback potential in the entire game. I would say that right now. So here I have, let's see, I'm going to take a look. I've used Dowsing Machine and 3 Rare Candy. So that's my 4th Rare Candy in my hand. And I'm thinking, if I ever want to use Dusknoir, which obviously I do, I need that Rare Candy. Otherwise I can't evolve it anymore. So I don't think I can use that Juniper. I'm going to play Battle City, get heads, and then I'm just going to take one of these 2 cards with Musharna's Forewarn. So you can see we're digging through a couple cards extra every turn. I do get a Shelmet down, which is nice. And then I'm going to have to just pass. And I won't be able to do anything, and that Darkrai is going to escape with 30 HP. This is probably not very good. Alright, so now my opponent's going to get a free shot at me. I'm going to assume that Hydreigon's going to come up and Dragon Blast my Gothitelle, and then it'll get knocked out. And that'll be bad for a couple reasons. Mainly because Hydreigon's a 1 prize Pokemon. And at this point, I'm really just trying to knock out EXs because I am struggling, okay? I am absolutely struggling in this game to get anything going. Now, my opponent benches another Dino here, which is filling the bench, alright? So that actually makes me more comfortable by my position. Because now there's no threat of a Keldeo EX coming down, using Rush In, and getting rid of my status. Okay, so that actually alleviates some of my fears at this point. But I'm still not in a great position. I still need to get Accelgor next turn. And we're seeing, I don't know, my opponent's really being indecisive, it would appear. Moving some energy up to that Darkrai. Obviously, I don't think he's going to attack with the active Darkrai. And yep, going to retreat to the fresh Darkrai. That actually surprised me. Because Gothitelle has 100 HP left. Night Spear is only going to do 30. Or 90 and then 30 to a bench Pokemon. So I'm going to have 10 HP left. I'm surprised my opponent just didn't Dragon Blast there. That would have been a real pain if that happened. Knocked out my Gothitelle. It just would not have been good for me. So, kind of surprising. This may have been the turn where I caught a lucky break. My opponent maybe did the wrong thing. But now we have to see. What should I do here? I'm going to Battle City and get a heads. And then I get another DC. I'm going to Forewarn, hoping for Accelgor, and uh-oh. Well, that's not good. Oh, boy. This means I'm going to have to Juniper, okay? I cannot let that Shelmet get knocked out because my Gothitelle and my Shelmet will both go down. And then I am going to have to, waste another turn putting a Shelmet down, and then my Gothitelle could just get knocked up by Hydreigon's Dragon Blast, and then I just lose, okay? So I need to get Accelgor out this turn. And that means I'm going to have to Juniper away my hand. That means I'm going to have to discard my Rare Candy. It means we're not going to get Dusknoir out this game. And that just means bad news all around, okay? This is very, very bad right here. I'm deciding whether or not I want to catcher that Darkrai, and I'm deciding not to, alright? Actually, I almost did, and I think that would have been a huge mistake. Alright, we don't want to take that knockout. There is another catcher left in my deck, and that's what I need to check first. Alright, look. There's not a catcher in my discard pile. That means I have 1 left. I think I played 2 in this deck. And the reason being, I don't want to open up a bench spot for a Keldeo EX to come down. That would be almost, well, that would be the game over, I think. So I cannot afford to let that happen. I did have to discard a lot of stuff there. That was not a good Juniper. And that pretty much means we're going to have to rely on nothing but trapping the active for the rest of the game. You know, there's no alternative strategy with Dusknoir. I'm out of rare candy. I don't play Dusclops. So, yeah, we're out of stuff, basically. I'm going to play a Super Rod and shuffle in 2 Mews here to improve my odds of deck and cover every turn. And then I guess I can put in either a Shelmet or a Muna. Muna could give me some fluke situations again with long distance hypnosis in case something goes wrong. But I decided to just put back Shelmet as well. Alright. So here we go. Now we need to just go for deck and cover every turn. And it's hard to think that we actually got in a position to win this game. I mean, there were a lot of turns here where this could have all broken down. Alright, there are a ton of opportunities for that to happen. Think of all those times. I mean, where I hit Muna heads twice, and then the tails flip twice on sleep. That had to be frustrating for my opponent. There's all the times where I just barely drew into like the float stone and the Mew and the double colorless, the Accelgors, the double colorless. You have to be drawing this stuff every single turn. Otherwise, you don't really lock your opponent down. But if you can manage to get in this situation where you're starting to actually do it every turn, alright, then it works. Alright, you can see how strong this really is right now. My opponent had, by all means, a really good start. Turn 2 Hydreigon, turn 3 Night Spear. You really can't ask for much more out of this kind of a deck, the Hydreigon deck. So, it was really a picture-perfect start for him. Maybe a turn 2 Night Spear would have been better, but not a big deal. I'm going to play a Skyla here. I'm just going to use Accelgor's deck and cover here. And I can actually see, my second catcher is prized. That's not good. Alright, so the reason I used Skyla there was just so... Alright, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to deck and cover, promote Gothitelle. He's going to be at 20 HP left now. It's going to be 10 coming back to me, and then I don't even have to use deck and cover next turn. I can actually just pass for the knockout, and Poison will get the knockout. But yeah, that catcher is not in my deck. Which can really be troublesome here. Alright, Man, I don't even know. If I don't have a catcher, what am I supposed to do? Right, I'm going to Battle City here. Then we can use Forewarn. Get some more cards to work with. Get another double colorless. Alright. But yeah, I still lose after all of this. I probably will still lose if I do not get a Pokemon catcher off of my 2 prizes. That is the situation here. Unless I can find some fluky way to deck him out. Which... could happen, but it looks unlikely. But, oh, wow. And I get the catcher out of the prizes. That is ridiculous. And wow, there is the Keldeo EX. My opponent actually did play it and just didn't draw it the entire game. Oof, wow. So this is just, I don't even know what to say about this game. Alright, this was an extremely, extremely close game. You could see just how fragile I have been the entire game. Just one thing wrong here or there would have broken this strategy, you know. But somehow we have kind of persevered over the game and just barely got enough stuff to make this work. Now this is one of those scrappy games with this deck. So this deck can win some scrappy games here and there. We did not get the full setup here. We did not get the Dusknoir. We did not really get a super strong start, but we got just enough to stay alive the entire game, and that's what it's all about. Alright, so here we get the catcher on that Darkrai EX. I'm going to set up Shelmet and then just Juniper. We can draw the rest of my deck, and then get the Accelgor, and that'll be it. Deck and cover for the win. That was a great game. Yeah, I think it really showcased this Gothitelle Accelgor deck. Its strengths, its weaknesses, what it can do under pressure, and I guess kind of what to expect from it. And why this deck is honestly one of the top archetypes in the format. I don't think anybody can argue against that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I hope you maybe learned a little bit of something about this deck. It was an extremely long game. That's also a negative aspect of this deck. It can take a very long time in time games in tournaments. So that could be a problem as well. But thanks for watching, guys. I am Pooka here from the Top Cut. Hope you enjoyed. I'll have some more videos for you soon, and I'll see you guys next time.